Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. This is Reality Checks, brought to you by Chere Estrin and Paralegal Knowledge Institute. Today we have a very special guest, Allen Brody, who is the General Counsel for the Organization of Legal Professionals. And Allen is going to talk to us a little bit about the inside scoop on what attorneys really want from paralegals. Allen has been an attorney for about 30 years now. He went to the University of Michigan. He was licensed to practice law in Michigan, and now he's licensed to practice law here in California. And he's also an instructor with the Paralegal Knowledge Institute. He's a very popular instructor, particularly on ethics, and does a great job and has been teaching ethics for, maybe 7 or 8 years. So let's start and let's see what Allen Brody here has to say about what attorneys really want from paralegals. Hello, Allen.
Hi, thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about how attorneys these days feel about paralegals. Let's just really get to it. I would like to know, and I think our audience would like to know, in general, do they really see a value?
Oh, definitely. Attorneys see paralegals as a means of keeping costs under control and saving time by delegating certain work to a competent lower level, and the ability to create a profit center. That'd be the best solution.
So do you personally see paralegals as value? Have you worked with paralegals before besides teaching? What is your background?
Oh, definitely. I've worked in several firms or in-house with paralegals, and I've always found them to be very useful and very much part of the team.
Who is the best paralegal you ever had, and why?
Well, let's see. I can remember one who did a lot of volunteer work on the side, but she was an excellent paralegal because she was always anticipating my needs.
Oh, okay. So kind of like the old MASH series, and I'm dating myself now, kind of like the character Radar.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Don't anybody say anything about how old we are to remember MASH in the original, not the reruns. Let me ask you this, Allen. Why is it that some attorneys do not realize how much more sophisticated work paralegals can handle than what they're presently doing? Why is that?
Well, the problem is that attorneys simply don't know what areas paralegals are trained in. They often have no clue what paralegals have learned in school, and even if they did, they might not trust in the education. Also, few attorneys have time to personally train paralegals, so it becomes much easier to keep them doing what they're doing.
So kind of on the if it's not broken, let's not try to fix it mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, okay. So if you were a paralegal and you really wanted to get ahead, but you didn't know how, what would be the best way to approach an attorney for a higher level of work?
Well, I'd say not to wait for the attorney to automatically hand you an assignment you haven't done before. You're going to have to take the first step. A good way to do that is to know what's coming up. There's a deposition. If there is, you need to find out when it is. Then there's going to be some type of motion filed after that. You need to know how to approach the attorney well ahead of the deposition and let him or her know that you can do the motion that is sure to follow. Put him on notice.
So that kind of takes a lot of guts, to walk up to an attorney and say, you're going to have this deposition, and I would like to, would you say? Or how would you say that? Sometimes there's that boss-employee thing. How would you tell your boss that you're going to take it from here?
Well, the key is to let them know that you've got the knowledge that it takes, and there are certain ways that you can go about getting the attorney used to the idea that you can do the job.
So if you keep at them, so the first time they may say no, but what you're really saying is you can kind of wear them down, really, is what you're saying.
Well, so to speak.
So to speak. Okay. Well, what if the paralegal doesn't know how to do that particular assignment? What do they do?
Well, they better find out. They shouldn't rely on the attorney to train the paralegal. Taking a class or a webinar is an excellent solution. Seeking out someone in the firm who can train you is an excellent solution. Telling the attorney you haven't done that type of assignment before, you're going to have to sell them on the idea. The first step is to get the training. Let them know you've got the training. What you have to do is bargain for time, and you make a deal like this. Look, an associate will take X amount of hours to do this assignment. I'll take Y number of hours. It will be less expensive for the client. It will free you up so you can take on more sophisticated work. This is what you're saying to the attorney. Let's do this. You further say to the attorney, I'll spend Y amount of hours in doing it. I will bill half time and put the other half in administration. I'll take half an hour or whatever of your time that I will not bill for. The next time this kind of assignment comes up, you can automatically give it to me, and we'll both know it'll be done properly.
Wow, that's great. That's a great technique. So, in other words, you are telling the attorney how to train you is basically what you're doing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because, truthfully, they may not know how, and that may be some of the stops that come up. And why paralegals aren't getting more sophisticated work is because the attorney doesn't know how to get that training to the paralegal.
Right, and they may not think of this concept of splitting the hours or comparing it to the number of hours that an associate would do it, or billing some of the time to administration. That idea might have to come from the paralegal.
So we call it bargaining for time is basically what
Well, yes, that's a good way of putting it.
So let's talk about the political climate for a minute. And I know I personally experienced this in smaller firms. It seemed to be a lot more friendly. I mean, I remember when I was in a small firm in Seattle, and it was a 10-attorney firm, and this was some time ago, but I could really just walk into the named partner's office, sit down and say, hey, so, Max, how's it going? But I couldn't really do that in a larger firm. I mean, it just seemed like it was hands-off, and you couldn't go in there. There were all kinds of levels and that sort of thing. So what I want to know from you is why can attorneys, some attorneys, let's not say all attorneys, but why can some attorneys work with paralegals, say, until midnight, but they wouldn't be caught dead having lunch with them? What's with the caste system?
Well, first of all, it doesn't exist in every work situation. I've been in some in-house positions where people treated each other pretty much equally. The name partners, who are not really name partners, they're just at the head of the list as far as the insurance company was concerned, had a little bit of an attitude. But everybody else pretty much treated each other as equals. And we had lunch, and there was plenty of mixing between the attorneys and paralegals and legal secretaries and such. But I've also been at firms where you're absolutely right, where there is a caste system, and there it's a matter of arrogance. And when it's a matter of arrogance and the attorney's ego, it's not going to happen. It's not a reflection on you. It's all about the attorney's ego.
I think that's well said. I really do. I think that's pretty honest. So what if the attorney sees the paralegal as his or her golden girl or golden boy and ends up with kind of what we call the halo effect and gives that paralegal too much work? What do you do?
Well, the first step is to go get help. Ask for an assistant, but always figure out the numbers and the revenue it's going to generate. That's how you reach an attorney's mind. If you're in-house, you figure out how much time you're going to save that attorney and present it that way.
Again, we're bargaining, and again, we're appealing to the numbers and revenue and something that they can get their hands around.
Exactly.
Okay. So what do you think, Alan? Do you think attorneys see paralegals as a threat?
Well, the younger ones don't. The older ones started practicing without paralegals. While a lot of them may have gotten used to it, some habits are hard to change. I wouldn't worry about it. Those attorneys are going to retire soon. you're going to have a whole generation of attorneys who do not expect to practice law without a paralegal.
So it becomes normal, like attorneys never expected to practice law without a legal secretary, although that's going away. So even the younger ones now are changing the way that they practice law.
Yes.
So what would you say, from an attorney's point of view, is the best way for a paralegal to get ahead?
Well, I think the critical thing is training, getting training. Not just getting CLE because your state requires it, if your state requires it, or if you're abiding by knowledge requirements. You have to be continually getting updated because you want to. Otherwise, you end up doing routine and repetitious work. You find yourself getting behind while everyone else moves ahead, and you don't know why you're not getting good raises or juicy assignments, but it's because of the education. It's because you expect the firm to train you or pay for your training. Not a good way to advance. I mean, if they're willing to pay for your training, that's fine, but if they're not, that's not the end of the question.
So what you're saying is, if the firm is not willing to pay for your training, don't say, well, I just can't get training because my firm won't pay for it. It's kind of like joining an association. My law firm will not pay for my association dues, so I can't belong to the Paralegal Association.
Exactly, and there's plenty of training out there that's really quite reasonable.
So I think that attorneys are required to get CLE, and my opinion is that like attracts like.
Sure. If you're not constantly getting more education, attorneys are not likely to hold you in as high esteem as they could. They constantly have to keep getting updated, and they expect the same from you. This is a group that values education. You have to let them know that you're getting more education. Mention it in a conversation. It can be like, in such and such a course I'm taking, I learned this, or send them an article that relates to a case or matter they have going on, and say, we discussed this in a webinar I took yesterday, and I thought you might find it of interest. Get the word out. You can't imagine the kind of conversations that can get started from a webinar or a course that you're taking that has some way for you to relate to the attorney's caseload. So
basically what you're saying is it kind of puts you on an equal playing field, that, look, I can talk about this. I've had training in it. I understand what's going on, and you can give me this assignment because, and I learned this, and then you start getting into an equal conversation rather than somebody looking at you like, well, he doesn't know or she doesn't know what she's talking about. You kind of equal things.
Well, it's certainly whether or not it makes the attorney feel more or less equal to the paralegal, it certainly leads to the kind of assignment that the paralegal is looking for.
I think you're talking about competence. It gives the attorney confidence in the paralegal. Right?
I absolutely agree.
Thank you, Allen. This has been a podcast with Allen Brody, who's the General Counsel of the Organization of Legal Professionals, and we also refer to as OLP. And Allen is an instructor with Paralegal Knowledge Institute. And this podcast is brought to you by the Paralegal Knowledge Institute. So I just want to tell our audience a little bit about reality checks with Chere Estrin, that's me, and we're starting a call-in show for paralegals. Nothing like this has ever been done before. And what we're going to do is answer your career questions. We're going to start on August 27th at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. So if you have a question you would like answered, a situation or concern, or you just want to bounce an idea off of me and probably the audience, I can't say that I can fix all of your problems, but I do have 20-plus years in the field, and I've been around the block a couple of times. So if you would like to call in. That's starting August 27th at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and the number to call in is 760-610-5460. Let me repeat that. That's 760-610-5460. So join us next time for Reality Checks with Chere Estrin. That's me, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.